Rami Khouri is the director of the Issam Fares Institute for Public Policy and International Affairs. He's also a well-known political columnist and author, and he joins us now live from Beirut. Thank you so much for joining us to talk about the situation.
My pleasure.
Let's start with what appears to be a bloody day ahead, another bloody day ahead in Egypt, with no signs of anybody being able to head it off. What are your fears for this day, Rami, and for the bigger picture for Egypt?
Well, the picture you really have to look at is the whole region. You know, the four most important modern Arab cities, Baghdad, Damascus, Beirut, and Cairo, all were simultaneously involved yesterday, Thursday, in bombings and killings and sniper assassinations and street riots. All four leading Arab cities are in a state of violence, political tension, confusion, uncertainty. But this is really the part of the process of the transition from the failed old order of the last 2 or 3 generations, the police states and the corrupt, ineffective governance systems of the modern Arab world, into something new. And this is the most difficult moment right now, the moment after the revolutions and the uprisings started. So we have to really put it in its context. And what actually is happening, I believe, in Cairo, which is the most problematic now, especially when you have people like attacking churches and things like that, which are almost unknown of in Egypt in terms of popular sentiment. We're really moving from the revolutionary moment to the Civil War moment. In the United States, it took them about 70 years to make that shift from revolution to a constitution, to a civil war, and then to a stable democracy. And that's why these situations now are so difficult. We will continue to have these kinds of tensions and problems and killings here and there, but at some point it will stabilize and people will move towards something better.
Hopefully less than 70 years. And yes, certainly the transition is proving to be more difficult than perhaps anybody imagined. Does Egypt have a tolerance for this, or who might be able to intercede? It doesn't sound like the Barack Obama is having an effect. It doesn't sound like other countries are having effect. The Security Council even asking for maximum restraint. Right now, no one seems to be listening.
Well, this is something that will be determined by the Egyptian people. Barack Obama is golfing on his vacation, and he's been essentially golfing in the Arab world for the last couple of years, not quite sure of how the U.S. should react. The U.S. is a pretty peripheral actor right now. It's a very powerful country, and it has huge might and can do a lot of things, but it has almost zero impact on what's going on inside the Arab countries, and most foreign countries are like that. The historic change underway now across the region is that local actors, and sometimes it's non-government groups, terrorists, mass populations in the street, religious groups, sectarian groups, all kinds of local actors are now driving the historical change across the region. And the foreign countries can support and can help, but they no longer shape what's going on. The important thing to keep in mind is that you have the two most powerful groups in Egypt, the Muslim Brothers and the armed forces. Both of them have proved totally and utterly incompetent at governance. They are just not designed to run countries. They are hugely popular with their own constituents, incredibly legitimate, quite powerful, and they're going to be around for a long time. But neither of them have the slightest idea of how to run a government. And this is one of the moments they've been given a chance to fail, and there has to emerge from within these Arab societies, whether it's Syria or Lebanon or Baghdad or Yemen or wherever, you have to have the emergence of some combination of independent citizens and organized political groups that touch on faith and tribalism and Arabism and sectarian identity, that incorporate those values, but then can transform them into stable government systems. It takes a long time to do that in most democratic transitions. We've only been doing this for 2.5 years. We've now hit the civil war moment in most of these countries with this massive sectarian tension and fighting and killing. And hopefully it'll be a short phase and wiser minds will prevail. And there are emerging. You look in Tunis, you look in Egypt, there are people who are trying to mediate and to come up with centrist positions that can rally large numbers of citizens, and they will succeed in due course. But this is a moment almost that it's a rite of passage, unfortunately, that we have to pass through to show that religious people and soldiers, soldiers and saints are not the people who run governments. That's done by bureaucrats and by politicians. There's nobody in the Arab world who has any experience in democratic politics or governance. Nobody. Not Hezbollah, not the Malki in Baghdad, not the Sisi in Egypt. Nobody has had any experience in political, pluralistic, democratic, accountable, transparent governance. And they're learning on the job.
And we are seeing the effect of that in the streets, and everyone is pulling for the people of Egypt. It's painful to watch, but we thank you so much for your thoughts. Thank you for your insight, Rami Khouri, for us out of Beirut.